Anger, frustration, outrage growing in Shanghai in China, a city of 25 million people, been locked up in their homes since the end of March as a surge in COVID cases led officials to impose these hard lockdowns under China's strict zero COVID policy. Residents there in need of food, medicine, other supplies, they're pushing back against the lockdown. I want to bring in CNN's David Culver live in Shanghai, and there's some sign that China's responding to this pushback, David.
Let's hope, John, at least in words. You know, you and I were talking more than 2.5 years ago, and the Wuhan lockdown at that time was really the most pressing issue. Well, if you think Wuhan 2020 was bad, welcome to Shanghai 2022. This has been like no other lockdown, and it's in the country's cosmopolitan and most affluent financial hub of all places. So this door behind me, this is my exit to the outside alleyway, and late last night I heard them taping up my door along with the doors of my neighbors. They're placing a paper seal so as to keep it closed. Some buildings with positive cases inside, well, they're locked shut from the outside.
Oh my God.
They're using bicycle locks and padlocks just to keep people in. The biggest issue has been, though, food shortages. It's really difficult to source food with stores closed and delivery drivers also locked down. So neighbors are now coming together to try and source directly from suppliers. We buy in bulk. There have been some government handouts, not enough, and that's led to residents who are under lockdown demanding supplies. We've seen all sorts of videos on social media as they're coming together, some in protest, because the food shortages here have worsened. Some shouting, "We're starving. We are starving."
It's just President Xi, he's a good guy, right? He's a really good guy. He was friends with the last guy, right? They were all friends. Everybody was cool. Everybody was, copacetic. Same thing with Saudi. I mean, the Saudis, it's an amazing thing. Wouldn't you think that instead of giving $2 billion to Jared as some sort of a thank you for giving them a pass on the murder of a Washington Post writer, Jamal Khashoggi, that they dismembered with bone saws? And the president of the United States previously said, oh, well, maybe they knew about it, maybe they didn't, we don't know. And then all of a sudden Jared goes over there and he walks away with $2 billion but Hunter's laptop. See what I mean? This is crazy. This is all in service to authoritarian governments. All of this, everything, total control over the citizenry. I mean, the idea that China is this vast surveillance state that goes around padlocking you into your apartment building and then, putting a piece of paper on the outside of your door so you can't even see it. So if you open your door, they know that you've tried to escape. You're fleeing the apartment. And this in a city of 25 million people where they had, I swear to God, this started when they had double-digit COVID cases, like 11 cases. That's when this zero COVID lockdown in Shanghai began, in a very affluent city in China, the financial hub of China, where people probably thought, well, at least we're not, rice farmers, and look at us living in these fabulous high rises. This authoritarian stuff is never going to happen to us. It's not going to bother us. And then it does bother them because they can't leave their apartments and they're literally starving inside their own freaking buildings. I saw a video online. I don't know if it was TikTok or Telegram or Twitter, but they were literally, you had neighbors in these fabulous apartments with amazing views, dividing up a cabbage and a carrot and a potato. A carrot, a potato, and a carrot. Dividing it up into portions for, I mean, this is insane. This is insanity. We have vaccines in this world, and we have antivirals in this world. And I'm not really sure why Xi is treating people in the most affluent portions of China this way. I don't know what good he thinks is going to come from this, starving these people. But the truth is, there are antivirals to be had. There are vaccines that actually work against Omicron. Now, the vaccines that they created, they don't work against Omicron. They don't work against Omicron. But this is why there's inflation in the world. This is why the supply chain is funky. This is what's going on. 60% of the world's economies, 60% of the countries in this world have inflation rates over 6%. This is not an American problem. It is a global problem. I should put that on an endless loop and just play that by everybody's bed while they sleep so that the Republicans can't, trick you. Because, you elect yourself some authoritarians. You elect yourself a only I alone could fix it guy, another demagogue or the same one, and you're going to still have inflation, but you'll have no books to read. Do you know that in the last 9 months here in this here country, with free speech being all it is and beloved and although free speech only says that the government can't limit your speech, and here what we have is the government banning books. You know how many books were banned in the last 9 months? You know how many? 1,000 titles. 1,000 titles have been banned in the United States of America in unparalleled censorship in schools, public schools, government, and public libraries, government. This is a classic example of what the First Amendment is supposed to protect against. And yet it's happening here. 1,000 book titles. And you're talking about Nobel Prize winners. You're talking about Toni Morrison books. PEN America, which is an organization that, has a database of banned books. Toni Morrison, George Takei. Yes, George Takei, who wrote a book about his family being sent to an internment camp in California for Japanese Americans during World War II. His book was banned from public schools and public libraries. I mean, what the heck? You want to know why music sucks? You can't have music if you don't have history. Do you know that you have nothing to write about? It's just unbelievable to me. It's the Adventures of Huckleberry Finn they want to take out because it uses a racial slur, although it's anti-racism. That's the whole point of the book. But the Library Association, listen to this. So 2/3 of the 1,000 titles that have been banned are fiction. But the nonfiction titles, the true stories of Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King Jr., Duke Ellington, and Nelson Mandela, the true stories, were also banned. They were removed from shelves. They're removed from school curricula. They have 5 poetry collections also banned, and mostly in Texas, South Carolina, and Georgia, according to the Penn Society that actually tracks this stuff. You're still going to have inflation because it's global, baby, but you just won't have anything to read. Dave in West Virginia.
Hi, Randy. Hey, I was just came in the house and I caught you talking about trying to inform people about inflation is a global thing. It's not just here. And the same thing, gas prices, everything. But whenever you watch local news, you watch national news, and even if it's channels like that are supposedly kind of left-leaning, they don't. They'll talk about the inflation, they'll talk about the gas price, but they don't take it one step further and say, well, let's look at gas prices in Europe. Let's look in Scandinavia. Let's look in the Orient. They're high everywhere, except in a few countries that happen to be poor countries or countries that produce gas and oil, and the government owns it. But getting that word out is so important. And the last thing I caught here was about the book banning.
Yeah. Dave. Oh, Dave. Irene in California.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. I'm calling in because I'm very interested in what you're speaking about today about inflation. It is indeed everywhere. I came here I can't hear you.
You what?
I couldn't hear you. Sorry. Okay. I can hear you now. I came here to work 40 years ago, and I came from Northern Ireland, and it's just across the border from Southern Ireland, and we're part of the UK and Northern Ireland. Long story short, I have family there, of course, and inflation is the same as it is here, and no surprise. But as you say, at the edges of America, they don't understand that this is what's playing out in the whole world, and it's been kept from the people.
Yeah.
But I would tell you, I was shocked last night.
Don't have time to listen to the live show? Want to hear more on your schedule? Go to randyrhodes.com and buy a stinking podcast.